I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has formally accepted Democratic Party's nomination to run for President of the United States on the last day of the Democratic National Convention. She received a thunderous applause as she arrived on the stage and started her speech by mentioning her Indian roots. In her acceptance speech at the jam-packed arena in Chicago, Kamala attacked Donald Trump and asked her voters to chart a new way forward. She committed to provide support to Israel and Ukraine while assured her resolve to end the war in West Asia. On the fourth and the last day of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, the party members lambasted Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump. New York Representative and Army veteran Pat Ryan used a military terminology to criticize Trump.
Indivisible and justice for all.
Deb Haaland, the first Native American serving as Secretary of Interior, lambasted Trump's flawed approach towards climate change. Florida Representative Maxwell Frost said fighting the climate crisis is patriotic and added that Kamala Harris understood the assignment. Urging the UN Security Council to press Hamas to accept a bridging proposal agreed to by Israel, U.S. envoy to the United Nations has told the Council's members that a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal is now in sight. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Linda Thomas-Greenfield said a bridging proposal put forward last week by United States, Qatar and Egypt was consistent with the plan outlined by Joe Biden in May and endorsed by the Security Council in June. This comes as tensions continue to rise in West Asia, as Israel and Hezbollah carried out drone strikes and counter-strikes on each other. Ukraine has claimed that it used an American-made bomb against the Russian forces during its ongoing offensive in Kursk. Ukraine's Air Force released footage claiming it used US-made high-precision GBU-38 bombs to target a Russian platoon command post. Ukraine also claims to have sunk a Russian ferry carrying fuel tanks in the aerial attack on southern Russian port of Kavkaz. Ukrainian claim was later confirmed by Russian officials, including the governor of the Krasnodar region. The officials, however, did not specify the weapon used in the attack. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Kyiv today to meet the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. This is the first trip by an Indian Prime Minister to Ukraine since Kyiv gained independence from Soviet Union in 1991. Prime Minister Modi departed from Warsaw on board a train to Kyiv and arrived in the Ukrainian capital after a 10-hour journey. Prime Minister Modi's visit comes at a time as Ukrainian forces are undertaking an incursion inside the Russian territory of Kursk, and Prime Minister Modi departed from Warsaw to board a train to Kyiv, to the Ukrainian capital that is. The trip focuses on bilateral ties and, of course, the Russia-Ukraine war. The Supreme Justice Tribunal of Venezuela has ratified President Nicolas Maduro's victory in the July 28th presidential election. The Supreme Tribunal said it had reviewed material from the Electoral Authority to arrive to its decision. Court President Rodriguez claimed that Maduro won the election. She added that the decision cannot be appealed. The tribunal announcement seals institutional backing for the ruling party. The opposition has alleged that despite being constitutionally independent, the court operates as an arm of the ruling party.
Este procedimiento en tiempo real por los testigos desde las
Former U.S. President Donald Trump's interview at the southern border in Arizona ended abruptly due to an ongoing security threat. This was due to a manhunt for a local who had allegedly made death threats against Trump on social media. The former president ended the interview saying he was in danger and that the Secret Service did not want him standing there. The officials in the county sheriff's office, Arizona, were looking for 66-year-old Ronald Lee, who they considered leading threat to kill a presidential candidate. Amid mounting concerns over Mpox, Thailand has announced its first confirmed case of a new potentially deadlier strain, Clade 1b. This is the first case of the strain in Asia and second outside of Africa. Clade 1b has driven a surge in Africa with outbreaks reported in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda since July. Sweden was the first place outside of the African continent to confirm a case of the strain a week ago. While Thailand has detected over 800 cases since 2022, it is the country's first such case of this strain. Resident doctors at several government hospitals across India have ended their protest over the rape and murder of a trainee doctor in Kolkata. Most major doctors' associations called off their strike after the Supreme Court of India called on protesting doctors to return to work. The court said it would prevail on authorities to not take adverse action. After the top court's appeal and directions about safety of doctors, the Federation of Resident Doctors Association announced its decision to call off the strike, asking resident doctors to resume their duty. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is on an official visit to Washington. During the visit, he will hold a bilateral meeting with his American counterpart Lloyd Austin. He will also meet U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. On the first day of his 4-day visit, Rajnath Singh addressed members of the Indian diaspora in the United States. The trip comes in the backdrop of the growing momentum in the India-US relations ahead of his visit. Rajnath saying that he would discuss areas of strategic interest with Lloyd Austin and seek to strengthen defense cooperation between India and the United States. Global funds pour money into India's debt market for 14 weeks in a second streak of buying this year. This serves as the recent evidence of the country's appeal amid disruptions across financial markets. Offshore investors have bought roughly $7 billion net of the South Asian country's bonds since May. That's more than twice the sum of net purchases for Indonesia. The country's securities, which recently joined a key JP Morgan index, are some of the best performing in Asia this year. China has abruptly suspended its system for approving new steel plants. The government is responding to a deep demand slump that's crushed the industry profits. Demand has fallen more than 10% since 2020. Many analysts say the industry will need to shrink to fit an economy that's becoming less reliant on steel-intensive construction. Chinese steel exports have ballooned this year to their highest since 2016, a sign that mills are struggling to find domestic markets. Shareholders of Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba have approved a plan to upgrade its Hong Kong listing to primary status. This move is expected to attract huge investments from mainland China. The Jack Ma-founded firm had originally proposed the idea a couple of years ago at a time when there was heightened geopolitical tensions between China and the United States. The listing status upgrade allows Alibaba to be part of a program which would connect the respective bourses in Shenzhen and Shanghai to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Hong Kong listed shares of the company gained as much as 0.7% following the announcement. Relentless monsoon rain and flooding have strained nearly 3 million people in Bangladesh and killed 2. It has submerged vast areas, it's damaged homes and infrastructure. Bangladesh residents are evacuating with their belongings by boat and other makeshift transportation as knee-deep water entered their homes. Meanwhile, Bangladesh's interim government has blamed India for flooding caused by the opening of the Dumbur Dam located upstream on the Gumti River. This invoked a strong rebuttal from the Indian government officials who warned the Bangladesh government against official backing of misplaced narratives. The European Union sent 2 water-bombing planes from Spain to the Portuguese island of Madeira to help efforts to put out a wildfire that has entered the 9th day. The blaze, which started on the 14th of August, it seared nearly 5,000 hectares of vegetation, mostly in mountainous areas with steep slopes and difficult access. Portugal requested assistance via the EU Civil Protection Mechanism. EU authorities provided the 2 Canada airplanes and said that the bloc stood ready to deploy additional resources if necessary. Apple has announced that iPhone and iPad users in the European Union will soon be able to delete the App Store and Safari browser from their devices. This change comes as a result of the EU's new digital regulations, which have prompted Apple to loosen its control over its devices in the region. Apple stated that apps like Messages, Camera, Photos and Safari will be removable except for Settings and Phone. This move aligns with Apple's recent promise to comply with EU's Digital Markets Act and address concerns from the European Commission. A report has revealed that detailed manuals and video guides for sextortion are readily accessible online. The report states that these guides are available on platforms like TikTok, YouTube and Telegram. Sextortion occurs when someone is deceived into sending intimate photos to scammers who then extort money by threatening to distribute the images. As per the report, the online guides provide criminals with customized instructions for a fee. Lingo Telecom has agreed to pay a $1 million fine after admitting to having transmitted fake robocalls initiating US President Joe Biden to spread disinformation. Meanwhile, the brain behind the robocall, US political consultant Steve Kramer, still faces a proposed $6 million fine as well as state criminal charges. Earlier this year, thousands of New Hampshire residents received a robocall message asking them not to vote until November. An effort to use a robot to retrieve fuel debris from a damaged reactor at Japan's Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant was halted due to a technical problem. The operator of the damaged plant had planned to use the remote control robot to collect small fragments of the melted fuel from one of the reactors. The work was stopped when workers discovered that the pipes controlling the robot were incorrectly assembled. Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant's reactors were destroyed by the magnitude 9 earthquake and tsunami disaster in 2011. A Canadian diamond company has discovered what it says is the world's second largest diamond. Lucara Diamonds said that the company discovered the rock at its mine in Karowe, Botswana. According to the company, the discovered diamond is a 2,492-carat gemstone. However, its value is yet to be ascertained. This is how Botswana President Masisi reacted on receiving the excavated diamond. The largest diamond discovered to date is a 3,016-carat Cullinan diamond, which was found in South Africa in the year 1905. For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.